So, I figure, first of all, before I get into what the title of this video is about, I am going to be walking the river walk that I have walked before on this stream, and show you a couple things too. So last night I went out to a sponsored gym, and one of us got a surprise reward in the middle of fighting. So we don't know if that's because it was sponsored or not, but there's that. It was worth it to go. I ended up, as you can see, I'm at level 31 instead of 30 like I was yesterday. I also yesterday managed to come over here. How come I'm clear back at oddities? Let's come over here. Okay. I managed to finish that one up and then finish this one up last night. So, I've got 3 now to gold. And so I think I'm just going to start going after everything again and go from there. So, let's see. And this morning I got this one to place. So I figured I'd wait to place it. So this is common. Here's what the best recommendation of what to do when you have that happen. You can clear your cache and your all your game data, and then turn off your phone, turn it back on, reinstall everything, and hope that works. Oh, not that one, this one. Okay, I should have got it. Hope that works. And then reinstall download all your assets, and then it might work, it might not. It did not work for me, but it has worked for some people. So that might work. When you reinstall your assets, turn your phone back off, turn it back on. Hopefully it'll work. If that does not work, the next suggestion is then do the same thing, uninstall the app, reinstall the app, and then go through. Those are the current suggestions to work around it. Supposedly that helps, but I'll be honest, I have not uninstalled and reinstalled the app. It stopped. Oh no! Am I not live? It says I'm still live. Did it jump back? Did it stop and then restart? I've had it, and then continue. I have had it do that in the past. Let me see. Hopefully it's just it just stopped for a few seconds. Okay. I'm glad we're back. Sorry about that. I've checked with my provider. There's nothing they can do until 5T is fully rolled out. So is that 1 hour or 1 minute? 1 hour. Okay. That means I can do this. So, yeah, last night I was able to level up and everything. I wondered if it would do that. And get a bunch, and now there's only one that needs one that needs two, and everything else I need everything for. So I'm just gonna kind of go after everything. So now my questions. October, whether it's gonna be huge in Wizards Unite. It is huge in Harry Potter. I'd like, especially Halloween, I'd like to do oh, that's interesting. Well, that makes me feel even better, because then that means I couldn't have done anything about it if it was YouTube. So yeah, so I would like to do something for Halloween. Some ideas I've had. I do have someone that I might be able to create merch and release some merch. Obviously, if I did that, I'd probably do it a little bit earlier than Halloween if I could get it up and have it so that hopefully, so there's that. There's also, I did look up, I could do a giveaway if we wanted to do that. I would like to know what you guys would like. Right now we've got over 4,000 watch minutes on the channel, not hours, but minutes, which I think is really good. I know a lot of other channels are not at that point, even this short into the game. So you guys are the reason why. Obviously, we need more, or I need to get that up before I start, before anything's monetized, and we need to get the subscribers up. But still, I'm really excited about that, and where Halloween's such a huge thing, there's that. Or if you would like me to do something specific for Halloween, I'd like to hear that. I want your guys' ideas on what you would like to see me do for Halloween, October or Halloween. So please leave those in the comments either now or in the comments of the video. I really want to hear what you guys would like to see. What you guys would like me to do for Halloween. My kids are older, so I'm not going to be going out on Halloween with them. In fact, knowing them and knowing my mom, chances are they're going to be processing deer that day. So this, my youngest at home is 16. So this is probably the first year that none of my kids have expressed any interest in dressing up and going and doing anything. So it'll be with where we live, it's a bit more rural. So we won't get trick-or-treaters. I just know we aren't going to get that because we never do. We won't have anything like that going on, so I won't get a chance to dress up for that. Sorry, my kids are kind of sick, and I think they gave me a little bit of it. Not as bad as they have it. But it's, yeah, annoying. I would have to look around. I have not heard about a fall festival around here. I mean, I know in my ward, we do what's known as a trunk or treat, that I could go there. But, yeah. That's one thing being in Utah, and everyone has a ward nearby that does something for Halloween. They do, some of the schools do one also, but my kids' school, their high school doesn't. My kids, are the ones that brought it home. They technically, the doctor wants them wearing a mask at school. I think you can imagine how well that is flying with a 16-year-old and a almost 18-year-old. Let's just say that it's not flying very well. Last year they were cool with it, but this year, one of the two was cool with it. This year, even he's fighting on it. And the idea was just that they have it with them and wear it if someone in class is really sick. That was the most I could convince them into, but they agreed to that last year. This year, even that's a no-go. And the doctor wants them doing that because they're more likely to get sick, and then when they get sick, they're more likely to take forever to get better. Yeah, because of everything. So I might see about doing that. I mean, obviously, I could dress up, I could go do the trunk or treat, have stuff, and I could always just be streaming and then let people know that I'm streaming before, and those that aren't appropriate or that don't agree with it, I could kind of ignore. But those that are, I bet, because I could probably do that. Oh, I needed that one. Yeah, no kidding. Oh, so my costume for about 10 years has been Ginny Weasley. So I just need to make sure I know where all the parts are. I made myself a cape years ago that's actually warm enough because, you know, here for Halloween, it usually is either really cold, like it snows a day before or a day after, and then it melts again. But almost without fail, we get snow. So yeah, even my family says Ginny just fits me more. Not snowed in. That's one thing. We're never snowed in because we're so used to it. But it is cold. So you have to take that into account when you plan costumes and stuff. For kids, for adults, whatever. You know, costumes that other places would be good to go are no-goes around here, because you need to be able to plan a way to have a coat under, have a coat over, sometimes have snow pants or stuff like that under, things like that. So you take that into account. So what I did, because I knew I wanted to be Ginny, and for a number of years, and the dress I have is a little bit thinner. I can wear pants under it because it's so long, so you don't see the pants, but obviously the top's gonna get really cold. So I made a black cape to go along with it, and I made it out of, I can't remember the material, the name of the material, but it's, out of fleece. About once every 10-15 years, I get snow on October 25th, which is my birthday, and then, but that's it. It'll always hit, usually a little bit in September, which we haven't got snow so far this year in September. Usually we get a little bit by now. So I'm wondering what's going to happen there. And then we get snow on Halloween. And I'm always like, really? I'm the person who wants snow on my birthday. And I don't get it on my birthday. And then the people that don't want it are getting it and complaining about it. And so it's always kind of funny. Oh yeah, I am so ready for snow. So one thing to understand about me, and you may have picked it up on this stream already, is the cooler the air gets, the more energy I have. And I actually go into that on a video on my main channel about why that is, but for me, snow is a rejuvenator, it's a pick-me-up, the works. I am coming upon my most productive time of year, when I feel the best. And it's strange, you know, in the northern hemisphere, especially the farther north you are, supposedly that's the time you're going to get the most depressed, because you get less sun, everything else. Well, for me, I can't handle the heat, so I spend all summer inside. I rarely see the sun. I don't have to get out and take kids to school because they aren't in school during the summer, so I don't get the sun that way. Basically, I hibernate the whole summer. And in fact, I've spent more time out this summer than I have most summers of my life. I mean, in fact, it wouldn't necessarily be pushing it to say that it is possible that I have spent more time out this summer than all my summers combined. Well, and I'm sure since I was like 20, if you combine the amount of time I've been out, not in the mountains, because I am going to take that out. When I go camping, I am a whole nother person. And the air's cooler and brisker. And, you know, during the summer even, if I go up into the mountains, I have one night I sleep like a log. You can't wake me, whatever else. The next morning, I'll go to bed as it's getting dark, so later at night, 10, 11,
whether you have shared
12 o'clock at night, and I will be up between 4 and 6 a.m. without fail after one night sleep otherwise. It reinvigorates me and gives me, you know, and if I spend a few days up in the mountains, I come home and it takes a few days before I start dragging really bad again. So, and I never knew why until I started investigating the EDS. I do know why now, but that's not true of everyone who has EDS. I talk about that on my main channel and why it does that for me. And it actually does it for all my kids too. The hard part is that's also when we're getting sick. So then when viruses are more common, so then we're trying to fight off the viruses. If we could have and that's why my kids actually, if they went up to scout camp and were counselors in training up at scout camps, they would have their best summer ever. And they would get sick less actually in the fall and stuff, because they'd go into the fall invigorated, because they didn't use up all their energy during the summer just trying to live with the heat. So that was it was interesting. We always questioned why, and now we actually have an answer. So yeah. Yep, that's the whole reason I was out as much as I was this game. Without this game, and you saw I spend a lot of it in the car even, but at least I was outside, out of the house. So I was getting some sun even though I was in the cool. So there is that, and that's, that's beneficial, and it's a good thing. It just and you can hear the river right by me. I've actually thought about when my son gets home from his mission, showing him the AquaWorks stuff. Or not AquaWorks, the Pond Guy stuff, and seeing if he can create a pond plus waterfalls that you can, that during the summer it'll be cool because it's dug deep enough that the water is cool. So when we're hot, we can go cool down and stuff. But then during the winter, it's actually warm. At least at one point to where you can go in and relax muscles and stuff. So, but that's a ways down the road, and because he won't be around for another just over a year. So he's in Oklahoma on a mission for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So he won't be back till just before Christmas. Let's see, 2020. So that'll have to wait, because then you can't dig at that point in time. So he wouldn't be able to, if he chose to do that, he wouldn't be able to do anything until till that spring, summer. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. And he has the knowledge. I mean, this guy is like, honestly, I've told him since he was little that when he's ready, he's going to be an adult. So when he gets back from his mission, he's going to be what every girl wants. He loves music, and he actually plays almost every instrument there is out there. He loves dancing. He loves cooking. So there's all those things. But then on top of it, he is a wizard. And, he is extremely smart. The kid can do triple-digit multiplication in his head. He can walk in a room and tell you if it's an inch or a half an inch off square. I mean, he can just see it immediately. So that would be something fun to do in the future, to be my parents actually had exchange students, not while I was home, but after I was married and out of the house. They still had some kids home, and they had exchange students. I think that would be fun. It's not in our cards right now, but he is. I've got awesome kids all around. It's just this one is like, he doesn't believe in himself because his dad was very mentally abusive, which is really sad. But honestly, I think with all those skills, he's he is a jack of all trades. He can, if he chooses when he comes home, he could probably do what he needs to become a general contractor. He could do this, create ponds, which I think would be the perfect melding of all his skills. He could go to school and become an engineer. He could become a meat cutter. The kid basically has the world in front of him. As long as, and here's his one restriction, he's got EDS, the worst of everyone in the family. And so he's got to choose a job that he can do, but that he can have that in mind, and if necessary, bring in others to help or take time off or whatever it is. And that's something that he's learning on right now, because family's not around to help him. His older brother has a lot of the same things, but his older brother's a whiz. He can remember things for years and years and years and years, different things like that. But he's not as creative. And so he doesn't, otherwise I could have him do the very same thing, but he does not have that eye to be able to see how things might fit together, if that makes sense. And so he's got his own skills and talents, and all my kids are amazing in their own ways. It's just this one that is on a mission, has the skills necessary for I'm going to log out and log back in and log these. But the one that's on a mission has the skills necessary to build a pond and do it basically by himself. Yeah. The nice thing is, and this may sound horrible, but Dad's not in their life anymore. Dad is actually currently a fugitive, so definitely not in their life, at least at this point in time. So, gold medal mile. But that kind of shows you what type of person and the sad thing is, when I met him, he was an amazing person. But he got into pornography. And he got really caught with pornography. And it basically screwed up his life. Yeah, okay. Neptune, the planet, look. And I wish, actually I'm going to walk over there and see how it looks over here. I wish he hadn't. He was a great guy. I will never tell my kids anything different than that. But his choices are not choices that I could condone, if that makes sense. And so because of that, sadly, he was treated badly by his parents. There was a lot of mental abuse, different things like that. So you get that, you get someone raised with mental abuse that doesn't know any different, and then they develop an addiction of any kind. And in his case, it literally was an addiction. I mean, when his response to finding out it was illegal to expose 5-year-olds to porn was, "What, that's stupid?" So he kind of brought it on himself. And that's actually what in the end was his downfall, is he started pushing it on the kids while they were early teenagers, and no one believed me but my husband now reported it, and they decided they'd better look into it. They thought they were going to close it. I had nothing to do with it. I actually told my husband they won't do anything about it. They've told me that they don't believe it or anything else. Well, he reported it because our lawyer told him he had to, and they came by. They said, "We're going to talk to him for 5 minutes and we're gone." And I wasn't home. I was at work. And they pulled him in, or they took him outside to talk to him. And they came back 45 minutes later and said, "We need to talk to all the kids." And then all of a sudden, and then later on, I got a call telling me it had become a matter for the police and wasn't even a matter for them, that it was way serious. And I'm like, holy crap. So that was interesting. But it's sad because it was an addiction. And I believe still, knowing him, it still is an addiction. And because of the addiction, he couldn't overcome, if that makes sense. Yeah, it was an interesting situation. I would say if they're missionaries for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, they probably won't have the same girls for the next 2 years. They're going to have rotating missionaries in, whether it's girls or guys. They may have specified girls, so they may just get girls. But it won't be the same girls. Because what happens is, and the couple, they might keep the couple. Sometimes couples are kept the same, in the same area, their whole mission. Sometimes they aren't. But the youth are never in the same area their whole mission. Rendezvous Park Dog Park. That one's an interesting. Now, where was that? Just across, okay. That's not supposed to be fog. Make sure I spelled that right, though. Rendez. Yep. So if they just... So where are they? The reason I'm asking is if they are in Kentucky, then they actually, or I mean if they are in Texas area, they actually might be in my son's area because his area covers quite a bit. Okay, looks like I'll have to go down there later. I'm not going down there today. I'm gonna go home, but so let's see. Kentucky and Texas. I agree. It's the disease, not the matter of choice of materials. I'm not going to say that everyone who looks at porn is bad and has an addiction. But you know what? If it's bad enough that you are willing to risk losing your kids over it, that's when it becomes an addiction. Or that, not just that, that's when it becomes, but that's one of the signs that it is an addiction. Okay, one thing to be aware of, there are some other churches that also go by the acronym, they also use the LDS acronym. And they also send missionaries out. And so if they are going to be there for 2 full years in her apartment, that same female couple, companionship, and the elderly couple, and they're in the U.S., then it is not the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. It's some other church. It's one of the other churches. However, if they're going to get them rotating, first of all, one thing that happens with... Just a minute, sorry, it's really loud. I'm right by the road, by the highway. One thing, see if I can get a little bit away so you can hear. Okay, it's quieter for a little bit. So one thing about the way companionships are worked in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, when a new person comes out, they are put with someone who's been out for a while. So, and then every 6 weeks is a transfer day. You may be transferred, you may not. If you are transferred, generally only one of the two is transferred, and then the other one stays. So, like in this case, you said there's one from Kentucky and one from Texas. And just assuming, let's say the one from Kentucky is the older one. The one from Texas just started their mission. The one that just started would be known as a greenie, and the other one as a trainer. And they probably would have 2 transfers together, so 12 weeks. And then the trainer would be transferred out of the area. So the one from Kentucky would be transferred out, the older one. The newer one would stay in the area, no longer be known as a greenie, but also not be a trainer. Someone else who had been out on their mission for a while would also be transferred into that area. And they would be in that area for 6 weeks, about usually. And then the one who had been there the longest, so in this case, in this example, the one from Texas, would then be transferred somewhere else. Because by that point, the person from Texas would have been there 18 weeks. And usually, once in a while, you'll get someone there longer than that. But that's starting to push the edge of how long you're in an area with the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. A lot of times, you're only in an area for 12 weeks. For the first 6 weeks, you're getting to know the area from the person who was there before and doing the missionary work at the same time. For the next 6 weeks, you are the one that is showing the area to everyone else. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I'd totally agree with that one then. So it's not just these 2 girls, it's just right now they have 2 girls. But then they have people in and out throughout, and that makes sense. So if the one from, let's see, trying to remember which one you said. So I would say just knowing the girl from Texas, maybe Trunky, if I saw that right. No, not Texas. Kentucky, because she's almost done with her mission. This may be her last area. The girl from Texas could be anywhere 9 months on. Sometimes they'll call for girls, sometimes they'll say 9 months. They're after 9 months they're on the second leg. Sometimes they wait until a year, because that's when Guy's second leg of their mission is. So my son is still on his first leg. He will be on his second leg the week, and they go by the week that by the day they entered the MTC, not by the time they entered the mission field. So in my son's case, the week after Thanksgiving will be his day. his year mark. So, but it is an interesting and unique thing to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. That, because a lot of them they don't have that. They have, you go out in groups or different things like that. So understanding the rotation, honestly, that's one thing a lot of people, when they join, I think I've heard of, they struggle with because one missionary is the one who taught them started teaching them the gospel and got them to commit to baptism. And then he or she comes and says, "Oh, by the way, I won't be here for your baptism. I'm getting transferred." And they're like, "But you can just come back." And they don't understand that they can't. And the missionary has to explain that. And sometimes that's enough that they're no longer interested because they liked the way that person taught and only that person taught, or different things like that. And that can be hard, honestly, for a missionary themselves. When that happens, they get kind of discouraged because what they're trying to teach is a love of Christ, or should be trying to teach is a love of Christ, and that shouldn't matter who teaches that love. Now, I'm not saying that's what all the missionaries teach. Sadly, there are those who don't, and who are just focused on how many people can I get baptized, things like that. They grow up. They do grow up. Sometimes they come home and they fall back into old ways. And as parents, we try to prevent that happening. But at least they've had that experience. One thing I do see from it is that they at least know some of how to handle finances, different things like that, because rather than being under mom and dad's care for their whole lives, going to college, mom and dad give them whatever money they need, etc. On a mission, they're given an allotted amount. While they won't be let starve, if they're struggling to meet it, their mission president and his wife, who love the kids as much as, and I will call them kids, because, yeah, but they love them as much as if they were their own kids. And so they meet with them, and they help them. Sometimes, if they need to, they'll go shopping with them for a while to teach them those skills. Sometimes that's not necessary, and it's just helping them learn to budget. And then there are those who go out prepared. So there's that. I will say my older son struggled a bit more than my son who's out right now. And it's just personality. And by struggled, I mean there were times when he would ask us to put a tiny bit in, because when they move areas, taking food with them is harder. Oh, that is in all churches. Okay, I've heard a lot of churches. So the churches I've heard of around here and the people I've talked to say it's actually unique to our church that their church, they have youth groups and they'll go out as a group and they encourage the youth to earn money, but it's only for a few weeks or a few months. They are taken to a third world country, period, and stuff like that. So that's what I've been told by people around here who are part of other churches. That's interesting because, like I said, that came from friends who are members of other churches who are not LDS. So that's why I thought that was the truth, because that's who it came from. Was, because I was honestly curious at one point, curious, and I asked what they had, things like that, and they told me about their youth groups and stuff that go to like Mexico and stuff, and they said this is our closest equivalent to a mission, and they go as a group, as a whole group, to third world countries, and they do a service project, and it's anywhere from a month to a few months, and that's our only option. We wish we had something more like your missions where they were gone for a year or 2 years. So that was from people who weren't members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, who weren't interested in it, but they often would say that was, if they were to join, they would join for that reason. I actually had one who, from what I can tell from her Facebook page now, is a minister. And she was one of the ones who told me that. So maybe it depends on the church, and maybe I was asking people who were in the wrong churches. And they told me about the long missions, but what they told me was that it was, you'd go out as a couple, like once you got married and stuff, or as a group. It's not the in-between, like while you were, while you were a young adult. And that was why I thought what I did. That could be, I don't know. Like I said, I wasn't aware of that, so that's why I understood that the way I did. So maybe it is, totally the size of the church. I could see that. I mean, we are talking Utah here, so the church memberships would not, I'm more than willing to admit, would not be the size of in places outside of this state. Some of them had come from other states, and so I assumed that they would tell me about what it was like in other places, but the way they said when they talked about the big mission trips, they said we get together with a big group of people and the whole group goes, and it's for a short time, a few weeks, a month, something like that. So, and I don't remember where they came from. Maybe they came from somewhere else and that didn't have a big church. Maybe their congregation, because I do understand that each congregation is sometimes slightly separate rather than being all together. Like in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, our main basis is in Salt Lake City, our church headquarters, and they will give money to different congregations, whatever else, if a young man needs to go or wants to go on a mission and can't, and they can't find a way financially, they donate towards that. And so, yeah. So I could see that. I thought they would have mentioned it. I had learned about the ones once you're married, married people going on mission trips and sometimes spending their whole lives on missions, and people fundraising for them. I didn't realize that they'd be sent out such that it was smaller, that they would have the chance to be with only one or two other people and not a spouse, that they would go before they were married and do that. Because I actually know someone who went on a mission for a different church, and he was out, I think, a year, but the indication was that a year, if that, and the indication was that he was out, his was a longer one, and that it literally was with a bigger group of people. Okay. Maybe the reason they call them mission trips here is because they do, even the short ones, they call them mission trips, but I know they also take members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints with them. And so maybe it's to give the members something to relate to, so they want to go. I don't know. But that's cool to know that it's not just my church, that a lot of churches do that, because I really believe in the benefit of that, because they go out children and they come back men or women. And that was actually why I'd ask about it, was because, well, there were a few reasons. At one point, we weren't sure that my son, that's out on a mission right now, would be able to serve a mission because of his health. And so we were looking into, were there any other options that he might be able to do. So there was that. There was also I was just trying to understand other religions, and how they do things. And being the oldest of 8 kids, 4 of them boys, I saw what their missions did for them or didn't do for them. You know, I saw both ways, and I was curious what happens along those lines with other churches. So there was that. So you know, it kind of was and some of them it literally was, you know, just being friendly. I want to understand what motivates you, different things like that, because I know church is a huge, and my belief in Christ and all of that guides my life. And so, and you can often tell, I'll be honest, at least I feel you can, when someone has Christ in their life, whether it's, and it doesn't have to be that they're a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, but their love for others, their desire to help others, different things like that. And I mean, I know some people claim, yeah, we can tell because they're brainwashed. And it doesn't matter what church they belong to, they're all brainwashed because there is no God and you're all out for yourselves. But honestly, my feeling is, and this may sound bad, but in some ways I wonder if they've really looked at the benefits that come from that. I mean, there's life is happier when you have Christ in your life. If I think of other questions, I will. And don't hesitate to talk to me about it either. My thing is, and I agree with your statement, that it should be a unifying, not a dividing factor. Sadly, I've seen a lot of times that people feel that their way, that if you believe anything but what they believe to a T, then you won't be saved. And you don't believe in Christ. And I've known too many good people to say that. Now I could get into why I feel that the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints holds more than other churches, but I don't want to and I won't unless people start asking. I do believe that the changing between churches is trying to find something that feels right to them. I've heard that over and over. And even some people feel that with the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And I agree, it's people who don't understand how a love of Christ can benefit lives are missing the true point of But I feel that part of what's happened there is that there's a few things. Sorry about the chainsaw. I can't exactly do anything about it other than try and get away. So, I believe there's a few things. One, I think every church strives to teach that love, and the way that they teach, or that was the original goal of all the churches. But that over time, some people started saying, this is the only way you can love Christ. And if you don't do things this way, then you don't really love Christ. And you can't be saved. You can't have His love, you can't be saved. And so you have to do things this way and only this way. I believe personally that every church out there has at least some degree of truth. But that some has been lost, and even in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, I believe some people have lost that understanding that the basis of this church is love and the love of Christ. Even though that's what's tried to be taught, not everyone understands it. And a lot of times people judge a church not by the teachings of the church, but by the people in the church, their actions. And I think that's where issues arise. Because just as you can't judge a parent 100% by their grown child, if you're judging a church exclusively by their members' actions, you are going to have those. I know some amazing parents who every one of their kids is not living the way they would like. I know other parents who kind of exact same thing, but they are living a life that I wouldn't agree with. And yet, every one of their kids is amazing. You know, you hear of the kids that there are sometimes of families who are part of gangs, that every one of their kids leaves the gang because they cannot accept the life that their parents have chosen to live. I've heard of people who are strong members of a church who really epitomize the love of Christ, and I've seen it in a number, or not just one church, in other churches, not just the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, but other churches. I had someone behind me waiting for me to move, so but other churches also that are amazing people, and their kids end up in jail or just don't live the way their parents would want. And then you get the families where every one of the kids lives the same way the parents are, or most of the kids, or just some of the kids. Well, when you take that into consideration and you look at congregations, you can see how that could be wrong. That something may be missing from the way the congregation is acting versus the actual teachings in that congregation. And honestly, I believe that that's part of the reason a lot of churches have some form of weekly service. Whether it's at least once a week, if not more. Whether it's on Sunday or on a different day of the week, or both, Bible study classes, the works, is to make sure that the people understand, or to try their best to bring the congregation to understand the love of Christ. And I really believe this world would be a better place if, rather than arguing about who has the right way of teaching, nitpicking on the small things, we look at the bigger thing. Now, at the same time, I do believe there are certain teachings in different religions, even Christian religions, certain principles that each religion has, that a person has to decide, do they feel that is right? The most right in, they have to decide what they feel is the most correct principles being taught. And that, I believe, is that there is a difference between Christian religions in that. And that's a decision, but I also believe that's a decision each person needs to make as they investigate other religions, but that's a personal thing, and it shouldn't determine who your friends are. That your friends may not believe in the same principles, but that the most important thing is the love of Christ. And this is going to sound really strange, probably, but I honestly believe that even Muslims, if they were to break it down, they have a love of Christ, they just don't understand it. And the Muslims I've known who really look at the Quran also have that same love of others, whatever else, and they don't believe in a lot of this radicalism. I mean, we have radicalism among Christians. We have sent throughout the years. There are those who are radical and bring a bad name to our religion. And I've known Muslims. My son had a friend who was a Muslim, one of the most amazing families there was out there. I really, to this day, wish we could get back in touch with them, because they were amazing people. They at one point ended up moving, and with a lot of other things going on in my life, we kind of lost touch with them. Jews, honestly, they don't recognize it, but they believe in Christ. And so and there are signs, if you really look deep enough, that Buddha And those who believe in Buddhism also believe in Christ. They just don't realize. In each case, I believe it's not understanding that symbol. And I believe he's a real person. And I believe that a lot of the religions out there believe in the same thing. They just, it's just a different doctrine. And to answer that last one, I don't like using potions very much on those. I like to save them for fortress battles right now. Yeah, that's my thing. I've done a little bit of research. Yes, exactly. Exactly. I've done a little bit of research, and Buddha lived about the time of Christ. So I really believe that was actually a Christian brought the religion in, but didn't have full access to materials or things like that, and it changed over time. Muhammad, if you look at the time Muhammad lived, probably was a disciple of Christ. Whether from one of the branches or whatever, maybe it became this. Maybe he's one of the ones that we read about that began to lose the teachings while the apostles were alive, or if it was lost after, I'm not sure. But that was literally created at the same time and is based on the same thing. Then you have, see if it'll load this time. Then you have the Jews, is the other, Jews and Hindu. I have not looked into Hindu enough to know there, but I would bet we find something very similar there. And we know Jews is basically the same thing. I'm not going to log that one right now. So that's... And I know a lot of people may disagree with that, but that's my feeling, is we literally are all brothers and sisters, all on the same path. And it's just going to be eventually we will realize. How will vary. But the big part of it, I really believe, is finding what you feel holds the most truth. It wouldn't surprise me. I'm just saying, I don't know enough about Hindu to be able to say for sure, if that makes sense. I'm glad that you do. I will say that is one thing that shocks a lot of people, is that the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, their leaders have wow, this is working now really well. Okay, anyway, their leaders have actually, our leaders have come out and said that we should look into precisely. leaders of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints have told us that we should investigate other churches and get to know their teachings. And that shocks a lot of people. They're like, what? No, there's no way. No one would do that. But it is what we have been taught to do. But I think a lot of times that gets lost on some people. And they feel that that's when you're questioning, and some parents do not want to allow their kids to any chance to question because they fear they're going to fall away. And I feel that's sad. In fact, I believe one of my brothers, I believe, fell away for that reason. Because my parents didn't allow him to question. And so by the time he was a young adult, he then rebelled significantly because he didn't know how to find answers. And sadly, I believe he's even that he's become atheist. And that's really sad to me because I know how much happiness Christ can bring in your life. I totally agree. It's actually kind of interesting. People around me who don't know me get mad because I must not be a strong member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints because I let my kids play with people who aren't members of the church, and I have friends who aren't members of the church, and I don't mind my kids asking questions from the time they're little about the church and how can this be true and whatever else. But they don't honestly, other people who really get to know me realize that nothing's gonna sway me from, that due to experiences I've had, I know Christ lives. And I have searched for, and I believe, for me, I found the teachings that I believe in the most. The Church of Jesus, I believe, yeah, I believe that the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints has the most truth to it. And that every religion has truth to it. So, that's my feeling, but anyway, this was a long stream and it ended up religious. But, well, maybe not that long, but yeah. At least people know where I stand on the religion side of things, I guess. I hadn't planned on that, but I'm not complaining. It was cool talking to you, Steph. I am going to have to let you go because I got to get a daughter home to take care of her puppy. I wish I could go into it longer and sit here and talk to you, but we do need to get her puppy taken care of, so thanks. I'll see you tomorrow, and anyone who catches this, I hope they leave comments of their ideas in the comments below. Giveaway, I'm debating on possibly doing molds for chocolates, and then a melted chocolate. Because I looked at Joann's, I'd check like Joann's or somewhere like that, and have it shipped. The reason for doing that is I could have it shipped anywhere in the At least in the US, if not in the world. I'd look into that more. So I'd like to know everyone's ideas on what you'd like me to do. So I will talk to you guys later. Bye.